News. Hi. Hi, everybody.
Oh,
Yes, it's with Lizzie and Megan here. And yeah, we start usually with Where Am I Now? And that's to bring us into the present moment. And I've got a couple of things going on. One is I'm feeling a little out of sorts. And I think that Lizzie will be able to speak to this as well when she does her Where Am I Now? And it will actually lead into our what we are going to be talking about today. So I'm going to pause that one for a bit and instead talk about the other enormous thing that is affecting my Where Am I Now, which is Lizzie and I are in partnership and we are going to be launching our very own website. We are going to be launching something called a Cauldron of Crones. And we conceived this back during the Gene Key of Devotion, and we have been working on it ever since secretly. It's not launched yet, but it's been bubbling away there, and we are going to be bringing together all of our different threads of creativity that we do in the world. You know, I art journal, and so I have an Instagram page on art journaling. And then Lizzie makes these gorgeous books, so she has a folksy shop. And we both do this, QUACOC, in a private podcast area on GKU, but we are going to bring it to our website now. And so I've been working a lot on the making it look right and really feeling into the frequency that we want because I have time. You know, I'm retired. Lizzie is works full time, so I've been doing a lot of the background work in WordPress with, of course, the most delicious ideas from Lizzie, you know. And so that's what we have been working on. And we get so freaking excited about this. I can't even tell you. We don't know exactly when we're launching. We're thinking maybe in a month, but at the most 2 months. Right. It will be within the next couple of months, but we're not quite sure when we're going to be ready. We have to wait for an internal clue rather than an external schedule, you know. So, yeah. You tell us more about it, Lizzie.
oh, oh, well, I mean, I am so excited about this. I missed a trick, actually. I should have had some confetti so that when you said it, I could have just thrown some confetti in
Right?
the air because it's really fucking exciting. And it is, it's it's the marriage of you and me, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the bringing together of our creativity. And we've talked about this a lot, how we have this like beautiful friendship, but we bring ourselves together and our friendship kind of creates this extra entity
Yeah.
around it
Yeah.
that is our friendships, that is our creativity. And just so our viewers know, Megan first suggested this to me with the words, "Shall we do a blog together?" Within, I was immediately like, yes. Within 2 days of Megan saying, "Shall we do a blog together?" We'd come up with a name, she'd bought the domain, and she'd started building a website. So our blog grew into this website, and it's just grown and grown and grown in the scope of what we want to share in it. And it is the most exciting thing ever. It's like I just can't stop thinking about it. But what is amazing to me, I mean, all of it's amazing. And Megan, you are amazing. I mean, you're saying you're retired, so you've got the time to do it, but you haven't just taken, slotted it into your days. You've poured your heart and soul into this thing that just looks so beautiful. I can't stop looking at it.
I
And
know.
I think it's amazing. It's just you've made it so beautiful. Um
It's like an art piece, isn't it? It's like an art
It
piece online.
It is a
And that's what I feel
collaborative.
like when I work on it.
Yeah,
It's like, how can I
yeah,
get this section to be just the right colors, just the right texture,
exactly.
just the right content? What is it showing? Yeah, it is
Yeah.
like this
Yeah,
beautiful art
you're
piece.
because you are a very visual artist,
Yeah,
so it just looks gorgeous. You like you say, you're layering in textures and complementary colors, and you've put so much thought into the font and the layout, and it's just and it keeps getting better
yeah.
each day. I because Megan and I are, we're what are we, 8 hours apart in time zones?
Seven,
So I
seven.
wake
Yeah,
up 7 hours apart in time zones. I wake up in the morning and there's a whole load of Voxers messages that Megan's left me during the night saying, "Oh, I found this thing, and oh, I found this plugin. Oh, and I'm trying this and I'm doing this." And I go in and our website has just grown, like flourished even more. So
yeah.
I am so excited about it. But the thing that I love about it is that we're not doing this as well as the inner work that we're
Oh,
doing, because we're both in this year-long program with Haley devoted. We are devoted to the inner work, and what we are doing within the website every single day, every single week, we're actually working with the gene key that we're in at
yes.
that time, because the
Yeah,
whole sort of playful creation of it came when we were in our SQ.
yeah, yeah,
That was where when it really grew into this really amazing playground for both of us, our inner children to just like
yeah.
get in there and make mud pies. It
That's
was
right.
just incredible. And I feel as if the work we're doing with our gene keys is just weaving in and out, as well as the content being a lot. There's a lot of stuff
Yes,
about the gene
of
keys, but
course.
it's not just
Yeah,
the gene keys, but it informs that what is coming up for us on a day-to-day basis. Like, I know that you alluded to it, and you probably want to talk about it, is the fact that we've both been feeling really out of kilter in the last couple of days,
yeah, yeah.
and I mean, Megan reminded me this morning that we have just been in the pulse of Gene Key 6, which is conflict, which could have had something to do with it, but also the work that we're doing is the work that we're doing as part of Devoted. It's kind of thrown us off balance a little
Yeah,
bit, and
yeah.
that has made some of the website stuff feel a bit, harder than it
It
should have
has.
been.
It has
You
been.
know,
Yeah, it is, and that's one of the things that was really making me feel off kilter because here it had been going so smoothly, everything had been falling into place, blah 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 blah. Now we're getting a few glitches and weird things. You'll see one thing, I'll see something different, and that's really freaking annoying me and discouraging me at the same
yeah,
time, because
yeah,
annoyance has a little bit of, oh, I can probably fix it, but discouragement is like, I want to just throw the whole thing out the window kind of discouragement. And that is very unlike me.
yeah,
So obviously, things are, I think some of the inner work that we have been doing this week and this month
yeah,
in our devoted space, working in the core wound, which is where we're at, has been underlying all of this. And so I have had to remind myself to be gentle with myself as I'm doing the inner work, but also as I'm doing the website.
yeah.
We're not launched yet. Nothing matters. I mean, I could
No,
leave it for a while, just let it go for
yeah,
a bit,
yeah,
and get back into a flow of my own self from the inside out. You know.
yeah. And what is really interesting to me, just as you're saying that, just before you hit record, you told me we're moving into Jinky 48 in the
Yes.
pulse. That's the void. That's the womb space. You know, that's the darkness. You have to just fall into the darkness and allow
I
and
was
allow
just
what's going to come up to come up.
I was just
You know,
thinking
so
of that.
maybe this is
Yeah, that movement of conflict. that movement of conflict moving then into the void. Isn't that an interesting movement to think about?
Yeah.
Where we've been in six with that conflict where I mean, I literally had a conflict with my dog. I wanted to have a conflict with my husband, but I thought, well, maybe don't. Maybe just, keep it
Yeah.
inside, girl. There's no reason you need a conflict with your husband. But that movement then moving into the void is very interesting to me. Yeah. And that's
Mm, yeah.
inadequacy, right?
It
As a
is.
shadow.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Inadequacy, resourcefulness, wisdom.
Mm.
So you
Mm.
just,
Okay.
and Richard, in his audio for 48 is just wonderful. I would recommend anyone to listen to it, whether they've got 48 in their chart or not. It's it's a key gene key, I think, for everyone. And he describes how he was living in the Highlands of Scotland and he went for a run barefoot through the forest in the winter at night. I
Oh my
mean,
God.
mad, completely mad. And then he got to a waterfall and he dived into this waterfall, into the pool at the bottom of a waterfall in the dark, just let
Wow.
himself fall into the void. And and that's what this work invites us to do all the time. And it's
Yeah.
I mean, I wrote about trust in my last Wizardly Words. And one of the things that I wrote about a lot in my, because I was looking through all my journals to find material for that article. And it's like, it's that trust fall. It's that just let yourself fall. It's that full energy, that
Yeah.
fool who just leaps off the cliff and it's fine, you
It's
know.
fine.
So maybe we just have to accept the fact that we're falling into the void at the moment
Yeah.
and just trust that we're going to find the treasure at the bottom. Because what Richard says about the void, you think it's a black hole, but it's actually a white hole.
Oh.
Inside the void, there is only light. It's not
Oh.
cold and dark and scary.
There's
That if
only
you let
light.
yourself fall into it, you find the light.
Yeah. That reminds me of what I was thinking of with conflict. That conflict is actually love. And that's not unlike what you were just saying. It's not a black hole, it's a white hole with light in it. Conflict contains the light as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But what got us off kilter is what we're going to talk about today, right?
Yes, yes. So, we're kind of changing the format today, because usually we've got, a question from the community and then a question we ask ourselves. But Haley, in our last devoted integration calls, Haley was talking about how she had come to her that your core wound, which is where we are at the moment, your core wound is the core of all your other gene keys in your chart. And that's quite a phenomenal concept to think
Yeah.
about. So I had watched, because she does the calls in two parts, one for your American and Australian time and one for the European and Australian time. I'd watched the first part, the replay of the first part where she was talking about this, and it actually informed the question I then asked her in the second part, which was about, okay, I can kind of see where the gift of my core wound would be the core of all those other gene keys. But I still don't really get it. And I don't really get, because I've got 31 here,
Mm-hmm.
which is the shadow of arrogance and the gift of leadership. And I just wasn't seeing the connection between the shadow of arrogance and a core wound. I couldn't get it. So she talked about how, well, her answer to me, so she talked, because I said like this Jinky 48, which is my purpose. is that shadow of inadequacy. And that to me, that feels like that's at the core of all my, it's my
Sure.
inadequacy that makes me feel all those other shadows. And how she described it in that call was you've got your inadequacy is here, it's like the ground. And then she said, your core wound shadow, that's the tendrils of root that come down from underneath it. And she said, you could look at all of your gene keys through this lens. That the root of all your shadows is that fear of getting it wrong, because that's basically what that shadow of inadequacy, of arrogance is. It's the fear of getting it wrong, because the fear that if I get it wrong, whatever it is, get the wrong answer, do the wrong thing, it means that I am wrong, that there is
Yeah.
something inherently wrong with me, which, that's feeding into that inadequacy shadow. And she said, as an exercise, you could look at all your shadows. So that, of course, is
That's
exactly
exactly
what
what
I
you
did.
did.
And it was an incredible exercise. So Megan and I have both done this. We've both looked at our gene keys through the lens of having our core wound shadow at the roots, and through the lens of having the core wound gift at their core. So if it's okay with you, Megan,
Hmm.
because I could just talk about this, but
No,
I would
I'd
actually
love
like
to have
to
you read it.
I would like to read out what I wrote, because I went through each of my shadows from my life's work through to my SQ. I didn't go into my Pearl. I just went through all of them up to the SQ right before the core wound to see where this shadow of arrogance was coming in. So I'm going to actually read it out, which I
Perfect.
think, yeah. Okay. So, where is the root of arrogance in the shadow of provocation? What if I am only provoked because I don't know enough? What if I'm only provoked because I'm not good enough? If I knew everything and was a good leader, then provocations wouldn't happen. I wouldn't be tripped up because I'd be on my pedestal, lofty, knowing all, anticipating the provocations and neutralizing them before they could occur. Where is the root of arrogance in the shadow of struggle? If I knew everything, then struggle would be eliminated. It just wouldn't exist. Why would I struggle? I'd know all the pitfalls. I'd know how to avoid every hardship. I still struggle though. Therefore, I cannot be a leader. Who wants a leader who struggles with their darkness? Who wants a leader who isn't perfect?
Mm.
Whereas actually that made me think of what Richard says in the audio for 31. He says, I don't want like a saintly leader. I'd rather have a leader who falls and picks themselves up again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Where is the root of arrogance in my shadow of control? Control and arrogance are partners. And I don't mean programming partners, I mean bullies in the playground partners. Arrogance wants to control everything and everyone, so there is no danger of anyone thinking it could get anything wrong. Arrogance thinks that a good leader has control of everything. A good leader runs a tight ship, no chaos, no random occurrences, no wrong answers. Arrogance is Miss Hospital Corners on fucking steroids. Arrogance cannot bear the idea that it might be seen as having no control. Where is the root of arrogance in the shadow of inadequacy? And I actually wrote in my journal, the arch enemy. Arrogance doesn't want anyone to see its inadequacy. Arrogance is terrified of the void because it needs to be seen as knowing everything. Inadequacy worries that it's not good enough. Arrogance worries that people will find out just how not good it is. Getting something wrong means your whole self is wrong, and inadequacy thinks it gets things wrong all the time. Arrogance screams, who saw, who knows, hide, run away. Don't let anyone see your flaws.
Mm.
Where is the root of arrogance in the shadow of intellect? Arrogance needs to have all the facts, all the information, and it's not good enough just to have the facts. Arrogance needs to win with the facts. Top of the class, A student, gold star girl, always the winner in Trivial Pursuit. That was me. Look at, yeah, look at me. Look at all the things I know. And intellect better fucking keep up or we are all fucking screwed. There was a lot of swearing. I'm very sorry for those of you with a delicate disposition. Where is the root of arrogance in the shadow of vanity? Ugh, this is a double whammy. Vanity and arrogance both think they're the dog's bollocks. Now, I need to explain because a lot of people who listen to our podcast may not know what the dog's bollocks are. So the dog's bollocks is English, well, it's British English slang for a person or a thing that is the best
Yeah.
of its kind.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get that.
Okay. And nobody better think that they're vain or arrogant. No, no, siree. The fear of being found out to be vain and arrogant is debilitating. This is the emperor's new clothes on steroids. I mean, you want to believe in yourself and you have a high opinion of yourself, but you never want anyone to know that because being vain is bad.
Uh-huh.
It is a bear trap. It is a bear trap. Where is the root of arrogance in the shadow of confusion, which is my EQ? Arrogance hates confusion. How can it possibly be seen to know everything and to be getting everything right if it is in confusion? You can't have a confused leader. Confusion leads to uncertainty, and uncertainty is not acceptable. How can I show the world that I am right and that I am a suitable leader if they think I am not certain of everything? I have to be seen as having all my ducks in a really straight fucking row. And where is the root of arrogance in the shadow of victimization? No, 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 no. That's what I wrote in my journal in
No, no, no,
very
no,
big
no, no, no.
letters. This is not allowed. I cannot ever be seen to play or be the victim. How can I be a leader if I show such weakness? The irony is that arrogance victimizes victimization.
Yeah.
Underneath that fear of being seen as a victim, there is the fear that actually it's all my fault. I am only a victim because I am inherently wrong. There is something wrong with me. How horrific for people to see that, to know that I am so weak and so wrong and so pathetic that I am able to be turned into a victim. Arrogance hates my weakness. Arrogance thinks that to be seen as a victim negates everything. All the work on myself is meaningless.
Mm.
So that was pretty, that all poured out of me in one journaling session. And it was kind of like, oh my God, it was very vitriolic. And I didn't actually realize until you said it to me earlier today that this is what has caused me to be off kilter this
Yeah.
week.
Yeah. The same
And
thing
I
happened
didn't
to me.
realize that.
And of
Yeah.
course, I had different gene keys, but actually bringing the light and connecting that core wound that is so deep within us, connecting that to all of these that I thought were settled and solved. I've worked in my life's work. I know that one so
Yeah.
well. I'm now in my gifts there. I don't need to worry about that one. And oh, yeah, that evolution. Yeah, I know it's a challenge, but I've got that settled. But then bringing the core wound into each one of those, it's almost like it jostled the whole thing, just jostled
Yeah.
everything. And I think that's good. I think it should jostle it. It just is bringing more light to each one of those fears. But in the meantime, it does jostle us. It does,
Yeah.
you know, just, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
and, the I know that we are talking real Gene Keys geekery stuff here
Yeah.
because this is the second time. Actually, for me, is it the third time? I don't even think the first time was much of anything for me, but certainly the second time I've delved somewhat deeply into this core wound. And we may have people who are listening to us who are beginners or who are
Yeah.
just starting on their journey or even just through their activation sequence. I just wanted to let all of you know you could actually do this exercise. You don't have to have made it all the way through to your core wound. You could do it just with the words. You could look at your
Yes.
word, like my word is dishonor. I have Jinky 22 here. And, how does dishonor affect my life's work of force, that shadow? And you don't even need to know much about it, but you can just play with it. And that's what I would
Yes.
recommend if you have. Actually, I would recommend that with whether you're a Gene Keys geek or just a beginner. Frickin' just play, yeah. But at the
Yeah.
same time, remember to be kind, gentle, patient with yourself. It took me like 2 or 3 days to of this kind of being off kilter and somewhat in that feeling that pulse of six and the conflict. And I was having inner conflict and I was having conflict with our website. And I was, just, it just took me a while to say, okay, 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 okay. Just be kind, just be gentle. It's okay that you're feeling this way. Just accept it. Just allow this to be what it is right now. And that is actually my Gene Key 22, which is have gratitude for everything that life brings to you. And
Yeah.
life was bringing me this inner conflicts and these inner imbalances. And it's nice to be able to have a reason that maybe this is because of all the work we've been doing this week, bringing in the shadows to every single one of our gene keys. But maybe it's okay, period, whether you have an answer or not.
Yeah.
That's the void, right? It's like there is no answer. There's just this. This is what is happening. And
Yeah.
it's okay and it's safe and I'm okay and I'm safe. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
I think that's a really good suggestion to people to, even if they're not, even if they don't know anything about any of the gene keys, because Richard says himself that all those words that he chose the words for the shadows, the gifts, and the cities very specifically.
Yeah.
You know, the words themselves have have a meaning that I think you can grasp whether you know anything. You know, they speak to a much deeper thing than just your
Yes.
intellectual mind.
Yeah.
Um, so even if you don't know any of your gene keys, like you say, just taking that shadow that's in your core wound and looking at each of the other shadows
Yeah.
through that lens will give you something. You will
Yeah.
definitely find out something about yourself.
I always liked that you already used it today, but that image on the playground of, what
Yes.
would what kind of role would this particular gene key be playing on the playground? And I think of my superficiality as being this, little blonde girl, always dressed out, always dressed in all these pretty little outfits. And she's very superficial and she's always talking about the newest, game or the newest TV show or the whatever, all this superficial stuff. But then in comes this core wound of dishonor. And he speaks to her about how like maybe something happened in her life, like I'm really sad because my dog died, and he's sitting there going, well, don't worry about it, don't worry, he's gone to doggy heaven and you don't have to feel those feelings and you don't have to do this. I mean, this little sneaky voice telling her to totally disregard anything she's feeling and instead just jump into the maybe you can get a new puppy. You
Yeah.
you don't have to feel those feelings, you don't have to be human. he wouldn't, of course, say that because she's so superficial. She doesn't even know what he's
Yeah.
meaning, but I love the idea of a playground, and that's a playful way of doing it. Like my force is this big, that's my life's work, is this big hulking guy. The big, unfortunately, he got his growing spurt early, right? So he's this big kid on the playground, but he's not so smart, you know.
Yeah.
But she'll bring him over, and anytime there's a problem with one of the other kids, she'll say, "Could you go hit him for me, please?" He'll just go
Yeah.
and hit him because force, that's
Yeah.
all force does, is this. I have this impulse, and all I want to do is make the world be what I want it to be. So anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a
Yeah.
riff I didn't even think was going to come out, but if you're going to
Well, I
play, just
remember
play.
when we were right at the start of the devoted journey, and we were on that pathway of challenge, and you said it to me. You said that like your life's work and your evolution shadows, they're the schoolyard bullies.
Oh,
And it really gave me a completely new
yeah,
insight into
yeah.
provocation and struggle. They were like the crab and goyle
Yes,
in
yes,
in
Crab and
in the
Goyle,
in the
absolutely.
schoolyard. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Oh my goodness. Um, where else do we want to go with this?
well, the beautiful thing after, and even though it obviously did knock me off kilter for a few days,
Yeah.
doing that early on in the week, was that I then went on, and I think you did the same,
Oh, I did.
to the
Yes, the
other
gifts.
part
Mm-hmm.
of the gift, because I could almost, and you pointed this out to me actually in our Voxers, we could almost see this whole concept of the core wound gift being the missing piece of each gene key. We could see that idea blossoming in Haley as she spoke
Yeah,
about it.
yeah,
It was like it was like new information for all of us. And she said that unlocking, I'm looking at my notes here
yeah,
because
yeah.
I wrote down what she said. She said unlocking the deep essence of this core comes through all the other gifts and adds the core missing piece to every single one of the spheres. This gene key comes to fill each sphere's core, and then it can properly bloom.
Mm.
And that was an entirely different exercise for me to do, because I, again, sat down with my job. I was very lucky, don't tell anyone, but I had this little job to do at work where I had to be in a place where I couldn't have my work computer or my phone with me. Um, I was just doing this job where I just basically had to sit there and watch some other guys doing their work. So I took my journal with me and I sat down and I wrote for 3 hours on this. And it was an entirely different energy to actually to look at each of those gifts, like my life's work gift of leadership, sorry, my life's work of dynamism, and to ask myself, how does leadership make dynamism bloom?
Yeah, yeah,
And that just shifted everything.
yeah,
And and I've noticed it this week, the shift in the energy of starting to look at this. Um, I was writing this morning about my core gift of leadership, but I wasn't writing about leadership. I was just writing about the core gift using Haley's text that she gives us in our workbook for devoted, which obviously she's got, what, 13 of us,
yeah.
all with different core wounds.
Sure.
So she's made it, the workbook is about the sphere,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you have to bring your own thing in. So I was writing about the gift of the core wound as a general concept, And I got about halfway through writing all this stuff, and I suddenly realized that I was in my gift of leadership, that this was my gift of all these things that I was coming up with about, because Richard talks about how the core gift is your creative impulse, you know. And so I was writing about how writing is my create. There's all these different creative things I do, but the real creative impulse comes through me in the written word, and it comes up from the roots of me, up through my heart, through my head, and then on, it doesn't come from my head onto the paper.
No,
It
no.
comes from the core of me. And I realized after about, I don't know, I'd written about 3 pages, and it was like, oh, I haven't really written about leadership here, the word. Actually, I've been writing about my gift of leadership, and this is what my gift of leadership is.
Oh,
So I think this it shifts it just completely doing this exercise of looking at all of my other gifts with leadership at their core just shifted my focus completely. It
mm-hmm.
was like, I mean, I do, I love photography and you do too. And that, when you're looking through your
Yes,
your your your
yes,
viewfinder and you just click the focus ring, one click round, and it changes
yes,
everything because everything becomes so much clearer and
yes,
sharper, and there's more depth of field, and you see the whole
yeah,
picture in a
yeah,
in a completely different way.
yeah.
Yeah. It's been
Yeah, I ended up expressing these two principles. I did a whole one on my shadows first and then the gift, but I did it through audio because I have actually, we haven't talked about it yet, but we each have lines here, and my line 5 is very much the voice. It's about the voice. And
right.
so I do a lot of processing through the voice, like on Voxer. Every day we're processing, you and I,
Yeah.
using our voices. So I thought I was having a difficult time, and everybody should know this too. Everybody might do this exercise, but they might do it differently. They might do it like
Yeah.
Lizzie, where they journal if they're journalers. I just, I did one page with my two spheres, and it just wasn't clicking for me. So finally yesterday I just went, I'm just going to talk. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I'm just going to talk. So I had this brand new little recording app on my on my iPad, and I plugged the mic in and I just started talking. So I did the shadows first, and then I did the gifts. And just like yours, my gifts were longer. Isn't that delicious that our gifts now
Yes.
are taking up more space in our life? Yours through the written word, mine through the speaking
Yeah.
word. It was longer with the gifts. And this 22 is all about emotion, and it's one of the most emotional gene keys. And I noticed two things. One is that how much emotion obviously is at the core of each one of my spheres, period. The next thing I noticed is when I made it to, okay, so we have codon rings, right? I have 3 of the 4 spheres in the codon ring of divinity, and one of them is this 22. Okay, so when 22 met another one of the codon rings, it was almost like they were twins, or in this case, it would be triplets because I don't have the fourth one.
Yeah.
But it was like there was a simpatico there that was incredible. It was like coming home to each other, and they melded so beautifully. So when I was in my purpose, thinking of that beautiful gift of equality, and then the core being graciousness with this equality, and it was such a feminine, just incredible feminine feeling. So it's a wonderful exercise. It'll give you lots of different ahas and epiphanies and so on as you do it. What I realized at the same time was maybe Maybe if I had done a shadow and then the gift at the same, on the same day together, I might not have been as out of kilter
Yeah.
because because I couldn't figure out a way to express them. I actually spent more days in the shadow and in the
Right.
just sinking into the kind of gunkiness of the shadows for a lot of days at once before I decided to then talk about the shadows and then talk about the gift. So I'm wondering if you're doing it yourself, you might want to do shadow first, then the gift, and it might balance it better for you. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's why I
Actually,
was
that's a
out
really
of
good idea.
kilter or
Yeah.
not, but certainly
Yeah.
Richard is always saying spend more time in the gift than you do in the
Yeah.
shadow.
Yeah.
He always says
Yeah.
that. Haley, on the other hand, will say, unless you get your shadows, though, that's not going to do you much
Yeah.
good. So, I mean, yeah, you want some balance.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, yeah. But I do, and I agree with you. I love the fact that I wrote so much more
Yeah,
about the gifts than I did about the shadows. And I love that you did yours through the spoken word. That is just
yeah,
absolutely so perfect. It's
yeah,
just perfect. And another, just as you were talking now, another really interesting thing that was woven through all of it kind of grew. It didn't feel like it was there right at the beginning when I started at the life's work. But by the time I had gotten around to the purpose and then definitely up through the Venus sequence, it was a very feminine leadership that I was writing about. And that's really
yeah, yeah,
interesting to me,
yeah,
that, and but also completely obvious and sensible. It makes
yeah.
sense to me that the core would be feminine,
Mm,
because
hmm.
we think so. You are, your jinky here. The gift is very feminine
Mm.
anyway, but on the surface, we would tend, especially in our culture, to think of leadership as a masculine
Yes,
quality.
right.
And I think, and it shifted something for me. Doing this exercise completely shifted leadership from being a masculine idea to being feminine, and that you know, it's the heart that has to lead. It's the
Yes,
heart that has to come first. It's that core of graciousness. We all need to have the
yeah,
core of graciousness, don't we?
yeah. Well, and that's
We,
actually 22. It talks about it being the cosmic mother. And the
yeah,
cosmic mother,
yes, of
you know,
course.
is the
Yeah,
birthplace. Yeah.
yeah.
Ah, yeah, 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 yeah.
But yeah.
Well, should we ask ourselves whimsical questions? I think I can make one up
Okay.
on the fly because I totally forgot to make one up for this.
Okay. Well, you just because you mentioned it to me just before you hit record, and I realized that I had actually thought of one, but I haven't thought of my own answer to it. So I
That's
will
okay.
ask you mine first,
Yeah.
and then while you're telling me your answer, I'll see if I can come up with it. So if you and I were a fictional duo, either like in a book or a film, who would we be? Which fictional duo would we be?
Um, I'm trying to think of a duo that's actually has a sense of equality to it because so many duos, you think of Sherlock Holmes and Watson, and poor
Yeah,
Watson's although the remakes of Sherlock Holmes have really brought Watson to an equal
right.
footing in his gifts.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I think the sisters in Practical Magic.
Ah, yes.
Only
That's what I
because,
was thinking as
yeah.
well.
Now, hopefully, they're a little further along in their development. So, because the one just so
Yeah,
falls prey to the men. So, well, actually, they both kind of fall prey to men. But
yeah,
yeah, yeah, sure,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That's what it's really. I was starting to think, oh, maybe it should be because I love that film. I
yeah.
absolutely love that
Me
film.
too. Yeah,
I did. I when I when I read it, I was thinking, who could it be? And I wondered, could we be Thelma and Louise? But I don't want to drive off a cliff.
I don't want to come to the
And I don't
place in my
particularly want to
shadows where I'm
shoot
driven to
anyone.
driving off a cliff. Yeah.
I could see us in the open top car on the highway,
Yeah.
but I don't want to drive off a cliff
Yeah. Yeah.
unless we fly. You know,
Yeah.
that would be okay if we could fly.
It would be okay. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
Flying car.
yeah.
It would be a totally different story, wouldn't
It would be,
it?
wouldn't it? If they had just driven off that cliff and just flown away.
Oh my gosh. All
Oh,
right. So let's say you are a time traveler. What role would you have as a time traveler? So, for instance, like, in a lot of different shows, they'll have a time traveler who has to come and correct a problem, right? So
right.
that such and such doesn't happen. Or you have the time traveler who, you,
Okay. So I'm going to completely disregard the premise of lots of sci-fi stories where they say that if you time travel, you can't change anything.
right.
You know that because if you change something, then you might never be born. We'll forget about that. If I was a time traveler, my role would be to go back to the younger version of people with a message from their older version. So, for instance, I would go to my 16-year-old self and tell her to love herself and to not ever, ever settle for less than she deserves and that she deserves the best.
Ah, that's a great
That
role.
would be my role.
I love it.
I'd check in with people just before they died to find out what their
Ah.
message would
So you
be
do
to
some
their younger
research
self.
first. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd do some research and
Oh
then
my
I'd go and
gosh.
find the younger version and give them a
Oh,
message from their own deathbed.
oh my God. Okay. Can I be your partner?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
we'll do it
We could do
together.
that together.
Absolutely. I love that. What?
And I don't want any of this nonsense of Terminator time travel where I have to be naked when I arrive. I want to
Hell
arrive.
no.
I want to arrive in my
Well, the costume
turquoise
of the
leather.
oh,
Yes. Well, no, I'm going to be in my time travel suit.
absolutely. I love that. Okay. I've
What
come in,
about you?
well, that's it. I want to be your partner. I
Yeah.
love that idea.
Oh, okay. Fabulous.
At first I was thinking, oh, I just want to observe. But I like your idea much better.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do want to have costumes. So like you have to get the costume
Oh,
of the
okay.
time that you're in. So if we're going back to the 1960s, we get to wear 1960s
Oh,
costume.
okay then.
Is
Okay.
that okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Do you know what you could do? You could bring in your inner librarian
Oh,
and you could give them a reading list as well.
oh, great idea. Great idea. Yeah, actually, I was thinking about that. Maybe I'll bring in the practicality because to say to someone, you need to remember to love yourself, who's already on the brink of self-hatred.
Yeah.
How do you even do that? So you almost
Yeah.
need, okay, so here are some
Here are the
resources for
books.
you.
Yes.
Yeah. Whether it's
Yeah.
books or whether it's, maybe watch this video that happened to just come out, but it's going to be, an indie and not many people are going to watch
Yeah.
it, but it holds the clue, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh
Ah,
God.
good
We'd be
idea.
unstoppable.
We would be. And can you imagine what the earth would look like in time? It'd be awesome.
Oh, I know. I
Yeah.
know. Excellent.
All right.
What a fun question.
Yeah, that one again, I totally forgotten to think of one. So time travel just came into my mind.
Brilliant, brilliant. And that is one of the things that I am absolutely loving about the way that you are creating our website is the whimsy that is in
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
Is,
Yeah.
we're talking about some pretty serious stuff
Yes.
in there, but we're not taking it too seriously and we're
Yeah.
having some fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the
Yeah.
premise that we began with was just us making a couple of mud pies, you know,
Yeah.
is yeah, we just have to remember that when it gets
Yeah.
too hairy like it was this week for me. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
well, thank you
Oh,
everybody for listening and sticking in here with us. If you're new to the Gene Keys, then, just hold in your heart this sense of gentleness, just a sense of gentleness, and know that, you know, Lizzie and I have been doing this work for a long time, and that's why we're able to know our Gene Keys so well. And we were all beginners, just like you.
yeah.
And if we had listened to this early on, I could have gone in and said, "Ooh, what does dishonor do when it meets intellect? What does that do?" You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And you can do nothing. You don't have to do this exercise at all, but soak in just the essence of genius that the gene keys can bring to you.
Yeah.
We have Lizzie and I found so much of our own gifts and so much more gentleness and so much more patience with ourselves on this journey. And we wish that for you. Absolutely. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh,
thank you,
thank
everybody.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye.